My, female 28, husband, male 29, thinks I am being selfish for wanting to go to my brother's out-of-state wedding. I apologize this is long. I'm trying to include all the details from multiple conversations as transparently as possible. My husband is upset that I want to attend my brother's out-of-state wedding. My brother's wedding is coming up this fall. He is doing a small ceremony for close family in a neighboring state and a larger reception near our parents' home, about 45 minutes away. The two events are about 1 week apart, with the reception preceding the ceremony. My husband, male 29, and I, female 28, have been married for 9 years, have no children, and have several animals. I am officiating the wedding. Brother chose to have the ceremony in a neighboring state. Our options would be a 10-hour drive, one way, or a cheap flight and a rental car. When I explained this to my husband, he quickly became frustrated and said he didn't want to go because of the expectation to spend so much time and money on my brother for his wedding. We'll elaborate more below. I understood how he felt and told him so. I also told him that the event was important to me and that I intended to attend. He told me that I should go but that I needed to coordinate with my family for carpooling and the Airbnb. He basically said to keep him out of it and that he wanted nothing to do with it. My parents are divorced. My dad is flying in and my sister's large family is driving but does not have room for me to ride with them. This left carpooling with my mom as the only option. Her vehicle is a tiny car that I do not feel comfortable making the drive in, which leaves my car as the only option. My entire family is sharing an Airbnb and splitting the bill to keep costs down. We will be making meals rather than eating out. I anticipate the cost of attending this ceremony to be roughly $500 after splitting the cost of gas with my mom. The reception will cost very little to travel to and will be a single evening event. My husband doesn't want to go for many reasons. 1. In almost 10 years of marriage, we have not gone on a single vacation as a couple. We have been focusing on home renovations and schooling. We have had many discussions about how we are choosing different things and the time to travel will come later in life for us. Any time a family vacation comes up, we go if it is less than a 3-hour drive and would not if it was beyond that. My husband does not want to make an expensive and time-consuming trip for my brother's wedding when we have done very little as a couple. 2. No one in our family is very well off, many make questionable financial choices. This kind of wedding is very different from what is typically done and he considers my brother to be selfish, entitled, arrogant, etc. for expecting the family to attend the ceremony in addition to the reception. 3. We do have several animals. We live about 30 minutes from our closest relatives and it would be unfair to ask them to care for our animals while we were away. We do have great neighbors that could help, but my husband doesn't feel comfortable with it. When my husband again asked about the upcoming trip, he very quickly became frustrated that I would need to drive our vehicle and that the trip was so long, from a Thursday to a Monday. He asked why I wasn't flying and I explained a rental car would be needed and with the flight, it seemed like the more expensive route to go. He blew up, saying the trip was absurd, that my brother was arrogant, that I was oblivious, asked who I thought I was, suggested the trip would actually cost $1,200, $5,000 when something happens to our car, and said that I was making it very clear that I didn't care what he thought about the whole thing. He said that my going goes directly against everything we have talked about and that I am being emotional rather than logical and that it is ridiculous to attend the ceremony at all and that I will be lucky if he even attends the reception. Throughout our marriage my husband has taken 3 fishing trips ranging from $500, $1,200 that I have not been invited on. We have spent money on expensive programs and donations because they were important to him and I supported it because that made it important to me. When I pointed this out to him he said it was different and that he had worked hard for those trips and I haven't and that I haven't been saving for the trip. I work full-time and always have. Although I'm not raking in money, I currently make more money than I ever have after graduating with my master's degree in May. I also worked an additional 60 hours and had been planning on using that money to pay for the trip. He says because I hadn't specifically discussed using that money for the wedding, because he didn't want to hear about it. It didn't count as working hard to go and that I was being financially irresponsible. He said going is selfish and is directly against our best interests and that I bit off more than I can chew, that I'm in a expensive pickle, and that I need to wake up. I feel I have been backed into an unfair situation. This is a big deal to me. It isn't just a family vacation, it is a wedding. It matters to me, it's important. Even if I wasn't officiating, I would feel it was important to go and would have huge regrets if I missed it. I accept and understand his reasoning for not wanting to go, although I would prefer to have him come. I also appreciate that he would be taking care of our animals on his own while I am gone. I am trying to keep this trip as cheap as possible and would like to spend time with my family rather than showing up for the ceremony and leaving at the same price point. He was at first supportive of a more local wedding, then of just my attending, and is now hinting at the end of our relationship. He has told me you do you, that I am being too emotional about it all for even considering going, and that he refuses to discuss the trip with me again, period. He has suggested splitting up our finances, and said something along the lines of I see you're going to do whatever you want, I'll do the same. Just don't cry when I say no to imminent financial needs or wants or when it leads to divorce. How do I find the line between respecting my husband's opinion, honoring what is important to me personally, and making a reasonable decision altogether? What can I say to my husband to explain I care about him and his opinion without missing such an important event?